again, you should have seen in Algebra 1, is point-slope form. And is written as this. Y minus y1 is equal to m times x minus x1, where x1, y1 is a point on the line, and m is the slope. Okay? So we're just going to first practice writing equations of lines in point-slope form. When you write an equation of a line in point-slope form, this first, and I got to orient this. Pause it. The first y and the first x don't change. That always stays a y, that always stays an x. Okay? This x, the y1 and the x1, all you're doing is you're just taking the point and plugging it in. So x1 goes where the x1 is, y1 goes where the y1 is. What do you notice about the point x1, y1 here? Are the variables positive or negative when it's written in the point, as a point? Are these positive or negative? Positive, right? What do you notice happened to them when we plugged them in? They became what? Negative. So that's really important to remember when we're writing things in point-slope form, the point changes signs. So if it's positive, when you plug it in, it turns negative, and when it's negative, when you plug it in, it turns positive. That's a really important thing to remember that we don't always do. Okay? And then whatever you're given as your slope, your m, your slope just goes where m is. Okay? So as long as you kind of memorize that format, again, unfortunately, they do not give you this, so you have to remember it. Okay? But if you just kind of remember the process, it's not that bad. So take a look at example 1. It says, write the equation of a line that has a slope of 2/3 and passes through the point -6, 5. So I know I'm writing an equation of a line. Okay? So I'm going to write it as y blank is equal to length times x blank. And I just have to fill in those blanks. Okay? Whatever is the y value in our point goes in with the y. So what's the y value of our point we were given? 5. But what did we say happened to the 5 when we plugged it in? Kennedy? It becomes negative. It changes sign. So it's actually a -5. Is equal to what goes in front? 2/3. The slope goes in front. And then the x value of our point goes with the x. What's the x value of our point? -6. But what did we say happened to the sign? It switches to a positive, so it's actually +6. In Algebra 1, they had you solve for y. Guess what in geometry? You don't. You get to be a little lazier in geometry. So we're done. That's an equation. And if they ask, they're not going to ask this direct question. They ask similar questions where you have to write the equation of a line. We'll get into those types of questions on Monday on your OST. Okay? And they will accept it like that. So don't solve for y. You can. They'll still accept it if you solve for y, but that makes more room for error. You might make a mistake. More work to do. So we're fine with that. Done. That's an equation of a line. Okay? That easy. So all you have to remember is your slope goes out in front of the parentheses, the y value goes with the y, the x value goes with the x. Change the sign of your x. Don't change the sign of the slope. That's going to say how whatever it is. But just remember the point changes signs. Okay? So let's take a look at example 2. It says write the equation of a line that has a slope of -4 and passes through the point 1, -12. Okay, so I'm going to write it. Y blank equal to blank and x blank. And you don't have to write those blanks. If you find it helpful, write them. You might remember this round one, not need it, that's fine. Okay. What number is going to go with the y? 12. And it's a -12, so when we plug it in, it's going to turn what? It's going to turn +12. What's going to go in front of the parentheses? Very good. The sign doesn't change. That stays a -4. And then what number is going to go in with the x? A 1. But it's a positive 1. So when we plug it in, it's going to turn negative. There you go. You're done. That easy. Okay. Hard part is remembering to change the signs, I think. Then we take a look at example 3. Says write the equation of a line that passes through the point 7, negative 10, and has a slope of negative 1/4. Writing an equation of a line. Y blank equal to blank x blank. Gamma, what number is going to go with the y? And it's negative, so we plug it in, it's going to turn what? Positive. Plus 10. What number is going to go out in front, Caitlin? Negative 1/4. There's the slope, and it doesn't change signs. And then what number is going to go with the x, JC? 7. And it's positive, so when we plug it in, it's going to turn what? Questions over that? Not too bad. We don't have to solve for y. I don't even recommend solving for y because that leaves room for making an error. Questions? So 4 says which of the following has a slope of 5/2 and passes through the point 16, negative 2? Okay. Well, which one do we think is our correct answer? Great. C. Okay. Do we all agree with C? Yeah. Right. The slope's in front. We got that. The y value goes with the y. So our y value is negative 2, but when we plugged it in, it turned positive. That's correct. Our x value goes with the x, and it was positive, so when we plugged it in, it turned negative. All the other ones have the slope in the right spot, but the signs aren't necessarily the same, or they flip-flop the x and the y. So our correct answer would be C. Okay. Questions over point slope form. Something you did in algebra 1. We don't have to solve. Continue like that. Okay. Flip it over to the back. We're going to talk about slope-intercept form. And again, slope-intercept form is again something you should solve from algebra 1. I think it's the one we can remember the most, which is y equals mx plus b, where b is the y-intercept and m is the slope. Okay, so what we're going to do in this next example is write each of the following equations in slope-intercept form. We're going to identify the slope and the y-intercept. Okay, if you notice in slope-intercept form, what's by itself? Y. So to write it in slope-intercept form, and y is not by itself, we just have to solve for it. We just have to get y by itself. And think back to your algebra 1 days. So in A, to get in slope-intercept form, we have to get y by itself. So I like to box my y. That means we have to move that 5x over. How are we going to move that 5x over if it's positive? Subtract it. So to move the 5x over, all we have to do is subtract it. Cancels out. We have y is equal to. The mx is always first, so whatever has the x always goes first, so I write it first. So I write that negative 5 first. Not the end. I don't think it's the end of the world. If you write it second, then you might actually get your slope and your y-intercept mixed up. So I just write it first. And then tack on that number. Is y by itself? Yep. So we're done. We solved it. It's in slope-intercept form. Now we just have to state the slope and the y-intercept. What is our slope? Jude, what's our slope? Good. Negative 5. And then, Xavier, what's our y-intercept? Okay. 7. Very good. Alright, so remember, the slope is the number with the x. The y-intercept is that constant number, the number without the x. So again, to get in slope-intercept form, we have to get y by itself. We always move that x over first. How are we going to move that x over first? Nicholas, how are we going to move that x over? do the opposite. It's negative. I'm going to add it. Cancels. 3y is equal to, and I see this a lot, we do 15 plus 6. So that's 21x. Okay, you have to be very careful. Those aren't like terms. The 6 has an x, the 15 doesn't. You can't combine them. And again, the x comes first, so I write it first. And then tack on the number. Are we done solving for y? No, what do we still have left to do? Divide by 3. Y is not completely by itself. We still have to divide by 3. So y is equal to 6 divided by 3 is what? 2. And 15 divided by 3 is 5. Now y is by itself. What is our slope? Brittany, what's our slope of our line? Well, if we look up here. Brittany, can you put your phone away, please? Talking to you. Okay. You can move closer if it's helpful. That's okay. If you move closer, that's there for that reason. If we look here, we said in y equals mx plus b. We said the m, so the number with the x is our slope. Number by itself is our y-intercept. So we solve for y. Here's our equation. What number is with the x? Number, this one, we simplified it down to a 2. So that means our slope is 2. Okay? What's our y-intercept? Diego? Fine. And then this last one again, we have to solve for y. What's our first step in solving for y? Isabel, what are we going to do? Good, add the 3x. Add 3x. Get negative 7y. Again, that is not 31x. They're not like terms. And the x goes first. So I write it first. Tack on the 28. Is y by itself yet? Nope. What do we have to do next? Frank, what are we going to do to get y by itself? By what? Good. By negative 7. Get y is equal to, does 3 over negative 7 simplify? No. And when we do rewrite it, a positive divided by a negative is a what? Negative. So we're going to write it as negative 3 over 7. Don't change it to a decimal. That will make your life a little more difficult. Just leave it as a fraction. Plus, what is 28 divided by negative 7? 4. What is the slope? Audrey, what's the slope? Good, negative 3 over 7. And the number with the x is the slope. And our y-intercept is what? Brooke, what's our y-intercept? Negative 4. Questions over that? Important thing for what we're doing tomorrow, solving for y. Okay. Which of the following is 8x minus y equal negative 5 written in slope intercept 4? So we're just going to do again exactly what we just did. Correct one. So I'm going to rewrite it so you can easily write. What's our first step in getting y by itself? Cassie, what are we going to do first? Good. Do the opposite. We're going to subtract the 8x. Make sure, what's written in front of that y? A negative, so we have to rewrite that negative in front of the y. Sometimes we don't remember to do that, so be careful. Again, we cannot combine the 5 and the negative 8x because they're not like terms, but in point slope or point intercept form, the x is always first. and then tack a negative 5 on in the end. Is y completely by itself? No. We have a negative in front of that y, and that negative is technically representing a what? A negative 1. So what do we have to do to get rid of that negative 1? Divide it. Because we're multiplied. No different if it was a 5 or a 2. We're just going to divide everything by negative 1. That cancels. We're left with y is equal to negative 8 divided by negative 1 is positive 8x. And negative 5 divided by negative 1 is positive 5. So our answer would be what? Questions over there? Huh? Okay. Sometimes it can be confusing to know when do I use point slope form and when do I use y-intercept form. There's two forms of a line. Sometimes it can be a little bit of a headache to decide which one you're using when. We generally will use point slope form when we're trying to write equation of a line. So you're given a slope, you're given a point, and it says write an equation. That's when we use point slope form. Right? We use slope-intercept form, the form that we talked about on the back, when we're already given an equation, and we're trying to solve for y. Okay? Or when we're graphing. It's essentially when we use slope-intercept form. So what we did on the front, we use that when we're just given information and we're trying to write an equation of a line. We use what we did on the back when we're already given the equation, we just need to rewrite it. Or when we're trying to graph. Okay? So this last example says graph the line 3x plus 4y equals negative 20. Well, in order to graph this line, it has to be in y equals mx plus b form. Because that's what we use to graph. Okay? Well, we have to do what we did above it. In order to graph, we have to get y by itself. So, it's our first step in getting y by itself. Good. Subtract the 3x. Cancels out. We're left with 4y is equal to, again, we can't combine them. We just stick the x in front. Tack on the negative 20. What's our next step now in getting y by itself? Good. We're going to divide by 4. Everything by 4. So y is equal to, does 3 over 4 simplify? No, just leave it as negative 3 over 4. And negative 20 over 4 simplifies down to what? Negative 5. Y is now by itself, so now we can graph it. In order to graph, we need to figure out, well, what's my slope and what's my y-intercept? So we look at that. Cassidy, what is our slope? Good, negative 3 over 4. And Diego, what's our y-intercept? So when we graph our line, where do we start at? Do we start at our slope or do we start at our y-intercept? Y-intercept. Because it's B, right? And I like to think B stands for beginning. The beginning starts with a B. So that's where we're starting from. Do we start at negative 5 right here? Is that where we start at? No, because the B, negative 5 is our y-intercept. So we're going to start on the y-axis. So we're going to go down here to negative 5. And then you follow your slope. Our slope is negative 3 over 4. So when we have a negative number and it's in the top, which direction are we going to go? Cassidy? Oh. Down. We're going to go down. We're going to go down 3. The 4 is positive, so which direction are we going to go? Right. Can we go down 3 anymore? Nope. So then what other direction can we go? Up 3, and then left 4, go the opposite way. 3. Up 3, but can we go left 4 anymore? Nope. We just think I can count it. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Yep, there you go, a little more. There we go. There we go. So remember, slope is your rise over your run. So your rise is your up and down motion. Your run is your horizontal left and right motion. So our top number was negative, so we go down as your rise. Our bottom number is positive, so we go right. And then when you can't go anymore, go in that direction, just go the opposite. So if you went down and then right, you can go up and then left. Questions over that? No, nice quick little refresher. Nothing too crazy.